EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed under the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to this episode of EduTechGuys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools, both in Hope, Arkansas. I'm one of your hosts today, David Henderson.
And I'm Jeff Madlock.
And I'm Greg Moore.
Welcome to the show. We got a really cool show coming up for you. We will have super special guest Dave Burgess, founder of the Teach Like a Pirate movement, and we'll talk to him in just a second. I do want to give a quick thank you out to CDWG for helping us by providing some of the equipment that we're using for the show. You are listening to radio.edutechguys.com. Feel free to jump out to the site, and you can pull up the chat window, and we'll have the chat window available. You can also follow us on Twitter at EduTechGuys. And I'm sure...
Don't forget Facebook. .com/EduTechGuys. You can catch us there. Hey, listen, if you head to the website, www.edutechguys.com, you can also find us, our nice little contact form at the bottom there. You can also find the previous shows under the podcast link, and you can find lots of good blogs and stuff that'll help you out there.
Yeah, man. Awesome stuff. So cool. All right. I just lost my show notes. I'm so not driving. They're going to take my license away. I'm not going to be a Google driver anymore.
Radio show license.
Hey, I grew up in the day where you had to have one of those. So.
David and Greg and I actually spent the day in the morning in Little Rock, Arkansas, at the Innovation Hub there in North Little Rock. Pretty cool place. Yeah. It's a massive makerspace area. If you're in Little Rock, it's on Broadway on North Little Rock, off of, is that 430? Oh, it's off of Interstate 30.
No, yeah, off of I-30.
It's right there on the other side of the river. It's a massive makerspace, lots of 3D printing equipment, laser cutters. In January, they're opening up their silver mine, which is a co-working area with an accelerator so that they can help get your business going, and a whole new art section where they have graphics arts and pottery and painting and the whole bit. The neat part is that your institution or school can get a sponsorship with them, and which will allow your teachers to go there and do workshops and definitely take kids. They do what she said. They already did 250 kids this week So they bring in kids in 1 hour little field trips, and they do fun stuff. Well, we saw a neat thing where they were 3D printing Christmas ornaments that the kids had been making in an after-school program. Yeah. So Innovation Hub, definitely North Little Rock, Arkansas. You want to see that place. It's really happening.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I think the website is arhub.org.
That's it, arhub.org.
arhub.org. And it's very cool. And you can also contact them if you want to take, as Jeff mentioned, a group of students, but you can do field trips up there. And I think she said they were like 2-hour-long field trips at a time. I think... current pricing at the time of this broadcast is, I think she said like $6 a kid or $5 a kid. I can't remember how much it is, but it was very inexpensive to have students go up there and go through some of the maker space. I thought it was pretty cool. The current square footage is like, they've got 6,000 square feet that's currently developed, and they are, as Jeff mentioned, they are renovating, and they're adding 14,000 square feet to their Maker Hub. It's just, man, it's going to be huge. I'm looking forward to going back January, February, and checking it out. It's going to be cool.
If you're a student out there, you're just a citizen. It's open to the public. Interestingly enough, $40 a month buys you 100 hours. That's 3 hours a day. So you can go in and use any of the equipment there. And the cool part is the networking, the folks that you're going to run into.
Yeah, and they've got we didn't even mention the woodworking stuff that they've got there and the welding stuff they've got there.
Mm-hmm. And so, for $40 a month for 100 hours, if you're looking to get a project done, if you want to learn Python and do some Raspberry Pi, or you want to go in and build something, or just get graphic work done, that's a pretty neat deal. And sitting down next to all the other members that are there, doing some work.
Awesome stuff. Yeah,
so
it was
how
a lot of fun.
You want to jump into this?
Yeah, man. I say we get this rolling. We would like to extend a very special welcome to Dave Burgess. He is the founder of the Teach Like a Pirate movement. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks very much for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, man. This is cool. We're very glad to have you on. This is very cool. I'm very. I keep saying the same words over and over. Sorry. It's
The more you repeat it, the more.
I know. That's right. It's like being a stupid teeny bopper.
We just
But
eliminated
anywho,
half our audience.
so let's skip all my rambling and let's tell folks in case they don't know who you are. Tell folks who you are and a little bit about the Teach Like a Pirate movement, and we'll get into some of the specifics as we go along. But
Yeah, for sure.
go
Yes.
for it.
So I'm Dave Burgess. I live in San Diego, California, although I'm probably most often found in hotel rooms these days. And I'm the author of Teach Like a Pirate. So I was a teacher for 17 years at West Hills High School. And while I had nothing to do with wanting teachers to attack and rob ships at sea, right? It's about embracing the spirit of a pirate. And see, to me, the spirit of a pirate is someone who is unconventional, someone who's willing to reject the status quo, someone who's willing to sail into uncharted waters with no guarantee of success, a risk taker, a rebel, a maverick in the classroom. So it's kind of embracing that spirit of being a pirate.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, the PIRATE of the word pirate, it's an acronym. Each one of those letters stands for something in the system. And then the third layer of the metaphor is pirates are known for having hooks. And this is all about how you can add hooks into what you do in your classroom, into what you do in your schools, to draw students into what you're doing. And so that's kind of the three layer. That's where the whole kind of pirate metaphor came from.
Cool. That is very cool.
So I was looking at some of the stuff, and I noticed all your hooks. They're pretty cool the way you've done the people prop hook, the safari hook. You've got tons of hooks out there. So tell me, when you work with a group of teachers, what's the first one you work? Because you got to have your old standby that you go with, that you take first. Which one is your first hook that you throw out to them?
Yeah, well, you know what? A lot of these hooks work before you even start. So in Teach Like a Pirate language, we call that preheating the grill. So if I make a steak for you, like, I don't put my steak down on a cold grill. I preheat my grill. And I do the same thing with workshops. I do the same thing with teaching. I do the same thing with content. Is that I want to build up mystery, curiosity, anticipation, buzz before I even begin. Like if you have a steak and you set it down on a cold grill, what happens?
Don't get a good steak.
No.
Nothing happens, right? But if you set it down on a preheated grill, what happens?
Starts to sizzle.
It sizzles, and that's what we want to do. When we drop our content, when we deliver information to kids, when we want it to sizzle. And so I start by even by what they see when they walk in to a workshop is already starting to preheat the grill, build up that mystery, that curiosity, that buzz, that anticipation. I love to use the taboo hook, where it's human nature. We want to know stuff that we're not supposed to hear. And so when you position things in a taboo way, sometimes that makes people want to know it even more. So there's all kinds of stuff that happens even before you begin that have to do with Teach Like a Pirate hooks.
That is awesome.
By the way, when they walk in, what do they see? They see the costume hook. They see the guest speaker hook because they see me dressed up as well. So
Yeah. So when was tell us, and if you can, in a quick moment, you were teaching. When did it hit you? Did this come about over time, or was it like an epiphany to just go, oh, this is it. This is my air quote hook.
Yeah, you know what? So I had been teaching for several years, and I've been using a lot of these tactics, but I didn't have them organized. I wasn't very intentional about it. And then in about 2005, my department chair came to me and said, hey, we're going to put together, the district is putting together like a summer institute put on by teachers in the district. I thought, how cool would it be if you put together a workshop based on some of that crazy stuff you do down in your room that nobody understands? and so then he said, like, but I'm not sure you can, because I think that maybe your success is just kind of you. I think it's personality driven. I'm not sure you could probably teach this stuff. And then I said, well, wait a second, like, sign me up. And so I signed up to do a workshop, and I drove away from that meeting, like, just pulling my hair out back when I had hair and saying that like, whoa, like, what have I just signed up for? Like, I don't have any of this. And so I got relentless about writing down every single thing that I do in my classroom that I thought was successful, but that wasn't good enough, because that's what I did. I had to take a step back further and say, where do these ideas come from to begin with? How did I generate these ideas to begin with? And every time I came I traced it back. It always went back to a question. It was a kind of question that I was asking about my lessons that maybe other teachers weren't asking about their lessons. So I began to compile those questions, eventually categorizing them into 30 different kinds of hook, 170 questions. And so that became the centerpiece of the workshop that summer. It hit me that questions really are the key to creativity. If you want to change an educator's classroom, if you want to change a school, change their questions. If you can change their questions, then you can change their creative output.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so as you were coming up with these, and you were started writing down all of the questions that you were coming up with, and the things that were coming into your mind. When did you or how did you tie the whole, that pirate theme that you have to what you were doing?
Right. So I'm kind of obsessed with packaging material in ways that it makes it easier for people to understand. Like, that's what I think that we do as teachers. Is one of the things that we do is it's how we package material, how we make things more accessible. And so I call it putting handles on material to make it easier to pick up. I always want to try to put handles on material to make it easier for them to pick up and take with them. And I wanted to do the same thing with the workshop. I wanted to be able to model and demonstrate some of the ideas that I had talked about in the book with my workshop. Like, I wanted to be a character. I wanted to use the costume hook, the guest speaker hook. I wanted to manipulate my physical environment using the interior design hook. I imagine that you put together a workshop that basically says you're going to teach people how to make their class unbelievably, magically engaging. Well, you better have a pretty damn good workshop.
Yes.
Your workshop better be pretty engaging if the whole thing you're saying is that you're going to help them make their class be wildly engaging. And so that I wanted to have a theme. Pirates really appealed to me because of the spirit part. When I put the acronym down on paper, and I saw that the P and the E were right at the front and the end of the word, and I knew I wanted to talk about passion and enthusiasm as the cornerstones of the system. It just worked out perfectly. It was a great fit. It's also allowed. I wanted to create a language. I wanted a way for this to be able to spread, right? Mm-hmm. And so now we can talk about pirate teaching. We can talk about hooks. We can talk about all this stuff, and it's a way of branding that allowed it to be fun and easy to spread and to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, so you've talked about two of the letters, so let's go through the acronym. What is PIRATE?
Yeah, so P stands for passion. And just to give you a real quick view on my take on this is that the simple truth of the matter is that, hey, we're not passionate about everything that we teach. And so you have to find other ways to constantly bring passion in the classroom. And so the P chapter is all about how you can find other ways to be passionate, even on the days when you're not particularly excited about your content. Mm-hmm. So that's the P chapter. The I chapter is immersion. Stands for immersion. And inside this chapter, I give away the number one top secret way to become a better lover.
Okay.
And so
that could have been a whole book right there in and of itself, but no.
The number one top secret way to become a better lover will transform your life in many different ways, right? And so, but it'll also help you transform your classroom. And so that's in the I chapter. The R chapter stands for rapport. I think the 3 R's of education are relationships, relationships, and relationships. And so it's all about how you can build rapport with students. The A stands for ask and analyze. And so that's where we talk about how do you actually become more creative. And it goes the ask part of it is it's all about your questions. And so this is a chapter about how it dismisses the idea that people are just born creative or not creative. That's not the way that it works. Everyone has creativity inside of them. It's just a matter of learning to ask the right questions. So that's in the A chapter. The T chapter is transformation, about how you can transform school and the way that kids look at school, the way they look at what's possible for themselves in their lives, even through education and through these techniques. It starts with a quote: "Provide an uncommon experience for your students, and they will reward you with an uncommon effort and attitude." Right? Wow. And so it's all about how to transform school. And then the E stands for enthusiasm, which, as Carlos Santana said, is the most contagious thing in the world. He said, the songs become incidental. What people receive is your joy. And that's the way I feel about teaching. The lessons become incidental. What students will receive is your joy when you're enthusiastic. It is the most contagious thing in the world.
Yeah, man, Very
Yeah,
good.
spot on.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question is that so how many schools? Because I know you do districts, you do schools, you do small venues, you do large venues. It doesn't matter. You'll do any venue that's out there. How many schools are you having? Any schools fully adopt your whole plan as maybe the basis for first grade, second grade, third grade, eighth grade, seventh grade, whatever? Are you having any luck with that? Are you anybody jumping on board?
Absolutely. I mean, there's schools all over the world who are using Teach Like a Pirate methods, and the book is translated into 4 languages.
Wow.
There's whole districts that have used Teach Like a Pirate as their pirate themes, and I've shown up at an event and had over 500 teachers dressed like pirates.
That is awesome, man.
It's been super fun to me. It's not about selling books. It's about spreading a message. It's about building a community and building a community that supports each other and helps move education forward. And if you do that, the books take care of themselves. And so, yeah, it's been wonderful to see how well it's been received.
I noticed since we reached out to you, it's been a couple of months because we talked to you like at the first of the school year. We all work in school years. But I've noticed since then you have another one called Anchor, and that's for the administrative level, right? Isn't that for like the coaching staff to help keep this going?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're constantly trying to build. So we also Teach Like a Pirate. See, I don't know if you know this, but Teach Like a Pirate, I published it from my kitchen table.
Wow.
And so I was so upset with traditional publishing and what those contracts look like, and the fact that they wait a second, this is my intellectual property, this is my sweat equity. I'm going to write this thing, I'm going to travel and speak, I'm going to build a social media platform, and I make how much and you make how much? It didn't make any sense to me. And plus they wanted to take creative control of my project, and I didn't want. This was my manifesto, this was my story that I wanted to tell teachers and educators around the world. And so I told all those publishing companies exactly where to go, published it from my kitchen table. And if you look at a traditional publishing contract, to me, the only thing missing is a ski mask and a gun. Okay? You have to be kidding me that people sign these contracts. It's not fair. And so we created, taking what I learned on Teach Like a Pirate, we've now built a publishing company that helps other educators get their messages out, but allows them to write their manifestos, allows them to retain their creative control, and also gives them the lion's share of the profits too. And so the one that you're talking about is Lead Like a Pirate. So the Lead Like a Pirate community in Lead Lap hashtag, LEADLAP. That's put together by my wife Shelly and Beth Huff, a principal from Missouri, along with the help of many other leaders in the community. And so yeah, we're developing a leadership component of the Teach Like a Pirate community right now, and all about how you can shift the culture of your school and how you can spread these messages and develop pirate teachers. And we also have all sorts of, we just put out Explore Like a Pirate, which is a book on gamification and game-inspired course design by Michael Matera, who's a gamification guru. And we have Learn Like a Pirate. We have all sorts of books that we put out from, George Couros, who's one of the top thinkers in education right now, The Innovator's Mindset. We have great stuff on Genius Hour and innovation with Don Wettrick. We have media literacy with Julie Smith. We have mindfulness and balance with the Zen teacher. So we have a whole line of books, including in the tech space too, with Alice Keeler writes for us. Alice Keeler is one of the top tech bloggers in the world. Yeah. And, so she writes for us she did a Google Classroom book with us, and Matt Miller with the Ditch That Textbook brand. Yes. And we published Matt too. So we have a huge line of great educators that we're working with, and we're super pumped about helping them get their messages out too.
Yeah, that is phenomenal.
Cool. So if there's an educator out there that wants to join your team, go to DaveBurgess.com.
Yeah, best place will probably be DaveBurgessConsulting.com.
Okay.
They can reach us either way, but DaveBurgessConsulting.com is kind of the hub, and and then pitch us. So we can't do every book, but we have like a little set of little criteria that we're looking for, the books that are in our brand, and so we have people sending us manuscripts every week. So we're happy to take a look at stuff.
Sure, that is awesome. That is very cool, man. That's to me, the fact that you started up your own publishing company really, I mean, that feeds into the philosophy that you've been, telling teachers about, how to do this with your students. Think outside the box and throw away the traditional methods. There you go.
It's time to become disruptive. And what's been done traditionally, what the status quo is it's not working. It's not serving kids. And in the case of what I was looking at, the traditional publishing industry wasn't serving people on either side, and that you were getting cookie cutter books with horrible covers, with not that were written more academically formally, as opposed to I want a practitioner. I want someone who's out there doing it. I wanted someone who was actually not saying like, hey, here's some theory about education. I want to know, hey, when you stand up in front of some kids, what actually works.
Yes,
exactly. So we're looking for practitioners is what we're looking for. And that's why I think our books are resonating. And plus they're conversational. Like you read some of these books and you have to go through like 15 footnotes of research before you get to something that's usable, right? Like I want someone to talk to me like as if we were across the table from each other. And when you talk to someone and they're passionate about education, and you can see their facial, the gestures, their intonation, the way that they move their hands and slam down the table, and you're like, wow, this person's on fire about this stuff. But then all of a sudden they sit down at a computer and it sucks all that out of them, and all of a sudden they have to be formal. And so we want people to put that into the books. And so that's something that we're pushing for with our authors.
Yeah, that's very cool, and I will tell you it's a hard thing to find in some folks because, as you said, I mean we speak one way, and with certain words that we use and certain ways that we express, and then when we sit down to write, I've published 2 books, and I did the self-publishing route, and now I used a third party that does that, but I ran into some of the same issues, where the traditional publishing route was going to eat me alive for pennies, if that. But by the same token, that was one of the things that I struggled with. I know other authors struggle with. When you sit down in front of this gray socket, all of a sudden it's like all the English classes we had as kids come, just weighing on your head and shoulders and weighing you down. You're like, oh wait, I have to make sure I say this correctly and properly, and I can't use certain words, or I have to put things in. Yes, the mechanics and all the rules and
I think part of that is like what teachers face in the classroom whenever they have to implement technology that they're not at all familiar with or comfortable with. It's like, okay, all teaching grinds to a halt, and I have to remember, what does this button actually do?
Right.
And so the mechanics are always, they jump in there.
Yeah, I mean the written page already sucks out so much of the emotion of words,
right?
Because you can't hear the voice, you can't see the face, you can't see the hands moving, all that. So you have to go almost over the top in your writing to approximate the same kind of impact that you would have if you were speaking face to face. It's one of the reasons why I always tell people to speak. Like you need to speak. Like if you're not, people say like, hey, I would like to write a book for you. Like, well, are you speaking about this stuff? And if you're not speaking, go speak first, because then you'll see what resonates. You'll be able to learn your voice. And then when you sit down to write your book, it's almost going to feel like cheating, because I'm going to ask you to just type out what you say.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. We're just going to record what you just said.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. I spoke about this message for a year. I spoke probably for 6 or 7 years about Teach Like a Pirate before I wrote the book. I would just go anywhere that anyone would listen to me and talk about Teach Like a Pirate. I mean, I just had an evangelical zeal for the message. And so that's what I tell you. Like, hey, if you're not on fire about this stuff, then don't bring it here, because we're looking for people that are on fire.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting is your energy is infectious, and that's great. Even through Skype. I mean, even through Skype, your energy is infectious. And I think that's where we are in the classroom is – with our kids today in the 21st century, you got to put on a show. You gotta get them excited, and forget the iPads and the technology and all that kind of stuff. If you can't get them excited about being in that room and just having a conversation about the topics that you're discussing, then you've just lost the whole ball game right there. You might as well not even go out on the field.
Yeah, and Teach Like a Pirate language, we call that don't just teach a lesson, create an experience.
Yeah.
Right? So lessons are easily forgotten, but experiences will live forever. They may forget some of that prohibition lecture, right? But they'll never forget going to the speakeasy, right? So you have to create experiences for kids.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
that's yeah, that's cool. Well, one of the things that you mentioned early on, you talked about the passion, but one of the things that I thought was key was, even if the teacher isn't passionate about a particular topic, they still have to come across as passionate. And where I'm going with this by extension, because you may not be, that teacher, you in the generic sense, you may not be passionate about history, American history and speakeasies, for example, prohibition, but you don't know that one of your students isn't, you know what I mean? And that student may not even know,
Right, exactly.
hey, this is awesome. I love this stuff. And suddenly, they end up becoming some kind of historian that uncovers some key piece of evidence or history or just information that like everybody else had missed up to that point, all because you as a teacher,
Instilled the passion, yeah.
you instilled the passion. You might have been faking that passion or however you wish to word that, but because you showed that enthusiasm, you showed that passion, all of a sudden that student catches fire.
Yep, absolutely. We can't ask our students to be enthusiastic about something with which we are not, right?
Right.
And so, and you have to. I also tell people that one of the top secret ways of hooking kids is, rather than spending so much time trying to get them engaged in what we're talking about, we should spend more time tying what we're talking about to what they're already engaged in. And so that's part of that rapport chapter too. You have to know your kids. You have to know what they're on fire about, and then do everything you can to be relentless about tying what school into that for them, right? And so that's how you reach a lot of these kids who come in and they can't care less maybe about your content to begin with, but by knowing them, by building that rapport with them, you can still reach them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, I had a question.
Yeah, I know you did. That's what I was.
And everybody pause.
That's right. I thought you were going to ask it, man.
Yeah. So my next question is, what's next for Teach Like a Pirate? Because I know now that I've met you face to face and I hear you speak, I know that you don't sleep a lot and your brain works like 24/7, and you're never satisfied with staying in one place.
Right. So I hang upside down in the closet for about 2 hours a night,
Yeah.
like a bat, and then like I'm ready to go. So no. So you know what? We are just moving full speed ahead with. First of all, I'm speaking. I'm constantly around speaking. So one of my favorite, I talk about in the book, my favorite holiday song is the Little Drummer Boy, right? And so the reason is because here's this kid who doesn't have the fine gifts that everyone else is bringing, right? But what he does have is the drum. And the ability to play that drum like nobody else can. And so that's what he offers as his gift. And that's what I feel about it. There's no finer gift that you can offer the world than to find your drum and to play it for everything that it's worth, right? That's what your gift to the world is. And so when I'm standing in front of teachers, when I'm doing the Teach Like a Pirate program, that's me playing my drum. So I love to go and give the live program for teachers. And I have a mentality when I'm about ready to start, is I'm looking out there and I'm saying, you know what? I'm gonna burn this place down. Like I'm gonna burn this place down around these people, and I'm gonna set them on fire, and I'm gonna have them knocking down walls to get back into their classrooms to teach kids. And so that's a big part of what we're doing. Is I'm still doing that, and then plus we are so passionate about publishing these amazing books by other authors too, and finding just the right messages at the right time to get into educators' hands. And so that's kind of where we're going right now. We have 10 books. As I'm sitting here talking to you right now, we have 10 books, and we're going to have at least another 10 in 2016, and it's going to be amazing stuff.
That is awesome. That is very cool. I want to follow up with something you said, just because I'm trying to imagine being in one of your sessions, right? So I'm coming in, and just for the sake of argument, I'm a curmudgeon, right? They're making me come to this. I'm not really into it, or really, I'm not even sure what to expect. And then you've got your pirate flags, and you're coming out with your earring in, and your bandanas on your head, and you're doing the whole pirate thing. So,
Yep.
So, are you able to, or can you see? I'm trying to think how to word this, but if you saw me in your audience, or a person who was acting as I'm describing,
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Kind of an Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah, we'll stick with the Christmas theme here. What does that do for you, or to you, or how do you approach that?
I see that all the time. So there's some of my events, people are self-selecting to go, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's incredible energy, but it's a little bit also preaching to the choir, right? But I know when I get hired by a school or district, there's going to be someone like that that's in the audience,
right?
And so I love to watch as they soften, right? As they start off like with kind of the arms crossed, like what's this going to be all about, and then eventually it's my job to break that down, right? And to reach all those people. And I think I do a good job of doing it. But it's also because I'm authentic. I'm giving them. I'm not saying like, hey, here's this stuff that I read about or did some research on. I'm showing them real world examples of exactly what it looks like in a classroom. And then as soon as they say, oh, wait a second, he's one of us. Like he actually is. I can tell he's done this stuff before, yes. And that starts to soften it. And then I also there's several things built into the program that will knock down resistance. Like I need to tell them about my classroom experience. I need to tell them who I taught, because another thing kids will, well, I can't do that with my kids.
Right.
And so I have to make sure they know, hey, wait a second. I did it with your kids. Let me tell you about my population, right? And so I know there's several things that I have to build into the program to make sure that I make sure those arms uncross and the shoulders relax over the course of it.
Yeah, that is awesome. Very cool. That is fantastic.
We're always checking our show notes here if you wonder what's going on. We make pretty decent notes, I guess. So I'm the guy that keeps everything rolling. So
Taskmaster.
If they want to find the books, Amazon, best place to get them.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you broke it.
Still there?
Sorry. There we go. Sorry.
Like, what happened?
Yeah. Love technology.
So to get the books, we can get it from Amazon, right? Best place?
Yeah, so all of our books we have 10 books up on Amazon.com right now. They're all there. And you can also contact us through DaveBurgess.com or DaveBurgessConsulting.com. And for sure, if you're listening to this program and you're not on Twitter, you have to get on Twitter. It's the number one place in the world where teachers are connecting and collaborating. It is, and you know how there's a lot of people that are negative about education? They're not there. and why would they be, right? The negative teachers are on Twitter because Twitter is something that you do outside of your normal school hours, and you get onto a social media platform and you connect with other educators and try to improve education and make school amazing for kids. And so you're going to run into a group of people, it's like a filter. It's a great filter to find amazing educators. And so I'm at Burgess Dave on Twitter, and there is a whole community under the TLAP hashtag, TLAP, for Teach Like a Pirate. There's offshoot communities. If you're a science teacher, SciTLAP. If you're a social studies teacher, SSTLAP. There's Ditch Book for Matt's book. There's Innovators Mindset for George's book. Zen Teacher for the Zen. So we have hashtags for our books, and they're all unbelievable communities of teachers that are just getting together to talk and communicate. So connect with me on Twitter for sure, too.
Yeah, cool. Do you guys do a Twitter chat anytime? Do you ever do a Twitter chat? Do you have a weekly one?
Yep. So every Monday night at 8 Central is when the mothership, like TLAP, takes off. There's all kinds of offshoot hashtags, but the mothership launches 8 o'clock Central every Monday night.
That is awesome. That is very cool.
We're tweeting it out right now and tweeting out the TLAP. All the hashtags. Yeah. Once you hit hashtag TLAP, a whole bunch come up. So,
yes.
Yep.
You're right. You've got a massive following.
Yeah.
Your following is pretty huge. So, hey, so we want to thank you for being here. I hope we didn't take up too much of your time because I know you're a busy guy.
Oh, you know what? It was my pleasure to join you guys. You guys are doing a great service for educators with this podcast, and I can't wait to get a chance to meet you guys face to face sometime.
Absolutely, man.
So, having said that, give us the next 3 places where folks can find you. Yeah, or 2, or 1. Are you taking off for Christmas, getting a little rest?
Yeah, I've packed it up until 2016. But in 2016, I'm going to be all over the place from too many places to list. I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be in New Hampshire in January. Where else am I going to be? I think in New Jersey as well. For some reason, I'm in all these cold places during the
You need a new booking agent, man.
like in Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Man.
So I'm from San Diego. Like I don't drive in that stuff. It just hit me. My wife is does the booking, and she might possibly be trying to kill me.
Well,
I was wondering why I was having to sign those insurance papers.
That's exactly what's going on.
Oh my
I
god.
tell you what, we will definitely make sure that when the list hits your website, we will share it like crazy on Twitter and on our website and on our show here.
yes.
But we're going to start taking up a collection for you a snowmobile for the rest
That's right.
of the season. We want to thank you, and hope you'll hang on a second. We're going to jump out real quick and listen to Nick C, a little music, so we can say goodbye to Dave here and thank him for being on the show. Hey, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We'll be right back after this song.
Guess who in your moonlit face, and I know it's true. We're like shining stars, will never fade when it's me and you. That lifelong love down till the end. The words that you told me, but not what you meant. But I knew I loved you for quite some time. I knew I loved you, and for once in my life I thought I finally had the thing right. Now I'm letting go. Your ruby lips, your windblown hair, let your lies sneak through. A gentle kiss, your southbound eyes, in my pride kills my truth. That lifelong love down till the end. The words that you told me, and now what you meant. But I knew I loved you for quite some time. I knew I loved you, and for once in my life I thought I finally had the thing right. And when it's all said and done, and your memories shining through on those yesterdays of your evil ways, and there ain't no bridge undone. Well, I'll leave you be. Ain't no finding me, no, 'cause I'm letting go. Well, I knew I loved you for quite some time. I knew I loved you, and for once in my life, I thought I finally had that thing right. Now let go. Oh, now let go. Now let go. Now let go. Now let go.
Hey, that was Nick C and Letting Go. We like to feature Nick C on here a lot. He's actually a relative of one of our people. And
One of our people.
That would be David. And hey, we just had a great interview with Dave Burgess.
Yeah.
And Teach Like a Pirate. A really good time with him.
That
Very
dude.
infectious guy. We're talking about, wow, Dave talks so fast. He's so energetic.
Covered all the topics. It's
all
like,
the
okay,
topics
wow.
in like 10 minutes. But we had done our research, and we had some show notes, and we knew about his program and where it's growing constantly and what he's doing. And so it was really great to get a little answer about the stuff that we've read about. So hey, if you want to pick up Teach Like a Pirate or any of the other 9 books that come from Dave Burgess Consulting, you can actually go to daveburgessconsulting.com. You can go to Dave Burgess, or you can definitely just bounce on over to Amazon, look up Teach Like a Pirate, and you'll find that book. And then at the bottom, you guys know how that works. They'll show you all relevant purchases that go along with that. In fact, I think they had when I looked at it on Teach Like a Pirate, you could get Teach Like a Pirate and Learn Like a Pirate, plus the book 50 Things You Can Do with Google Classroom, and like a total package, for a price.
The
They're selling
total
it
package.
You know how Amazon
The
to
total
package stuff
package,
together.
exactly.
You know, like a knife and a body bag. And a mask to hide the
I
body.
think
You never seen that on Amazon?
I think we need
I've not
to,
seen a knife in a body bag. What? This is way
Maybe
off
we're
topic.
not
So
spelling Amazon to say.
it's a whole different.
I don't want to know
animal.
what's in your cookies. I just know.
Or in this case, an eye patch and a hook and maybe a Jolly Roger.
So yeah, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We're coming to you live from the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative in Hope, Arkansas. This
You
is
see that train? It went right off the rails.
That's where I like to drive it sometimes.
Hey, you know.
I can't tell you how much when you can't see this unless you're watching on Periscope. If you hit us up on Periscope right now, EduTech Guys, you can watch this. But when I take this sucker off the line, these two, their faces are hilarious to watch. Especially David.
Laugh
David gets to
as
look at his face
silently
like,
as possible.
Where are you going with this? And that's why I do it. That's the lovely things we do for each other here.
Well, and here's the thing about that. You are the self-described, self-prescribed taskmaster guru of the group. So when you start going off the rails,
Like, oh, no.
I'm like, wait a minute, he's the guy keeping us on track. And
We're just the ones shoveling coal. He's the engineer.
The thing I never tell you what tracks.
no, you are right. You are so right.
You never know what tracks we're going to be on.
That is
You're listening to
awesome.
radio.edutechguys, and we're describing radio shows like a train show.
That's right.
I'm glad that you choose us.
No,
no,
don't start.
no,
No, we're not going there.
I've been kind of on fire today. Never mind it. I won't.
No,
bring
we're
it up.
not going there.
We're not
That's-
doing
So
that.
listen, today we talked about the first of the show. David and Greg and I had the opportunity with some of our administrators to travel to North Little Rock, Arkansas, on Broadway, right off exit 141B. I take you right there.
Man, you're gonna just
Interstate
take them right
30,
in.
come in north or south, 141B, get off on Broadway, head towards the Verizon Arena, and it's right across the street, honestly, from the
It
Verizon
is,
Arena.
honestly. He's not lying.
Innovation Hub here in Arkansas. The folks there are doing some really cool stuff. I was very impressed. Who was our host today? Aaron?
Aaron. Mhm.
Yep. They have some really great people working there. They do lots of stuff with education. They do lots of stuff with innovation. And I had a great time. I was impressed with. I kept expecting when you came back and told me about it. When you hear about it, and,
Right.
I've been there. I was expecting, like massive, like big place, because and I've seen the website which they shot with the fisheye from the corner of the parking lot, which makes it look, massive. So I was thinking, oh, this is a big building. It is a big building, and it's about to be a huge building because
Right.
they're adding another 14,000 square feet of workspace. But right now they're doing a pretty darn good job with 6,000 square feet of workspace.
Yes, yeah. They had, half a dozen or more 3D printers, and along that line specifically, one of the things that I think is very cool is, I don't know, you as a listener, when you have a picture of a 3D printer in your head, what you're picturing. Most folks probably
Like
are
a flat
picturing.
printer, but with an extra dimension to it.
Yes, much like that. Holy crap. All right, anyway, you probably have something similar to a MakerBot, the kind of big, bulky, which they do have a couple of those, but then they also have what I thought was very cool, some of the, I don't know what you call them, open air, frameless, I don't know what it is, but essentially they've taken the structure that goes around the 3D printer and removed it,
Right.
so that it's just the plate and the
The
extractor.
nozzle, yeah.
Yeah, and they did the same
extruder,
thing
sorry.
with printers in that other room. And
Yes.
the steam room, they had printers where it was just a printer with none of the casing, just the guts, so you could see.
So you could see what it was
exactly
doing.
what it's printing,
and I thought that was very cool.
manipulate your media if you had to.
Yeah, exactly. And then a bunch of computers, and as Jeff said, different laser cutters and.
Man, they had a massive laser cutter. They had at least 2 models of laser cutter there.
Yeah, they had an 85 watt or an 80 watt. I can't remember which, and then their new 100 watt. But the 100 watt is not only 100 watt, meaning powerful, cut your fingers off, but also it was fast. When we were there, the project that they were bringing in was they were making picture frames, and so they had custom. Written out in whatever software they're using in fonts with different people's names, and I think there might have been different words, joy and holy and all this kind of stuff around the frame, and then it was printing. I mean, it was as fast as a inkjet, just zip, zip, zip,
etching,
zip.
What was it, plywood? I think they had in
Yeah,
there. They were etching plywood.
Yeah, it's probably about an 1/8 plywood,
Something
I'd say.
like that, yeah.
And so it was doing each of the borders of the frame, and then part of the cutout was it was going to then laser cut
the rest of the plywood,
inside so that
it was etching and cutting.
it was etching and cutting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was very
I need
cool.
one of those at the house.
I think everybody needs a laser cutter.
Everyone needs a laser.
Everybody needs a
Well, actually, Greg showed me while we were there
Yes.
that there was a Kickstarter, and they have personal laser cutters. It was like $2,400, and I guess they've been funded or they're getting funded.
They got funded a little while ago. They made 27. They made almost $28 million on this Kickstarter. It's called the Glow Forge. You can find it at glowforge.com. And it's a previous laser cutters and laser etchers they're sort of more industrial in the way that they're designed and the way you interact with them. But the Glow Forge aims to have a much more simplified software suite, so it's a little bit easier to use, a little bit more user-friendly. It does some stuff where it's got a camera actually attached to the head that's doing the cutting so that it can actually find the medium that you've put in the cutter, and you don't have to manually range and find out where the edges are, which is one of the more complicated, sort of painful processes of using a laser cutter. And
to just interrupt you right there, that's one of the things we witnessed them doing. When the guy who was doing his project, he laid the piece of plywood down, and to us humans, it looked like it was pretty squared up.
Right.
And so they had to manually locate the upper left corner.
Right, exactly.
And then they do a test run that comes down the edge, and when the laser
wandered
is no
off.
longer on the edge,
Yes,
you realize,
exactly.
this
That's
isn't
not
straight
quite
as we
square.
thought. So
Exactly. So the Glow Forge is a nice little sort of a large desktop unit. It's not quite as big as the one they had. I'm not even sure what the dimensions of the one they had were, but it was gigantic. But yeah, it's a little bit more user-friendly, great for sort of like a classroom or maybe just as a school unit that doesn't need a huge, gigantic, complicated one. They just wanted something sort of small and easy to use to start out with. So yeah, it's very cool. And it was just recently funded, and it looks like it's doing sort of what 3D printers did. 3D printers have actually been around for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. If you actually watch the original Jurassic Park, during the opening sequences, they actually show a 3D printer there, and this is like way back in the 90s. It's whenever they were printing the raptor skull portion, or maybe it was one of those dinosaurs that made a sound, and he picks this item up out, and he blows through it. It makes this sound. Yeah, that was a 3D printer, like way back, back in the 90s. And so 3D printers have done this same sort of path where they've come from sort of an industrial sort of thing that was very complicated.
That early one, that one was cutting it from a single block.
It might have been subtractive rather than additive.
Subtractive,
It might have been machining,
but
but
also machining it, which is still the same thing. It's still 3D printing.
Well, yeah. So yeah, you've got you've got subtractive manufacturing, which takes down from something where you've got like a CNC machine, like a 7-axis or whatever CNC machine. And then you've got additive, where you're actually layering, like a filament. You're melting it and you're adding layers.
Well, and have you seen preservative
jams and jelly?
Well, and I don't know if have you seen the I can't remember what they called it, but basically they called it the teleporter, where they took a 3D scanner that subtracted through laser each layer, and then on the other end transmitted it to a 3D printer
Oh,
that
wow.
then printed it in reverse.
Oh, wow.
So teleportation,
It's a little bit slow.
it is a little slow. And
That's
15 hours later, and you might not
Yeah.
have all your parts.
So yeah, 3D printing has done sort of the same path where it's become much more accessible, and it's still a little rough. There's still a lot of, whenever a 3D print fails, it's quite amusing. I have some friends that do 3D printing, and there's sort of a famous test whenever you're leveling the bed and you're getting the 3D printer set. You'll print like a cube. And you want to make sure it's all square because if your 3D print head wanders, it'll wind up being not quite square. So it's sort of a basic test. But if you have a catastrophic failure where you have like a layer that doesn't adhere to the last one, what should be a cube comes out looking sort of more like spaghetti or a bird nest because it just goes everywhere. So it's definitely got a ways to go, but it's a lot easier than it used to be.
Yeah.
Very cool.
One of our listeners, Tammy Glass from
Yeah,
Spring Hill,
yeah.
she just said that she thinks that their AgRI has, their FFA department has a laser cutter. Now, it's interesting.
cool.
We have a plasma cutter at Hope that we've had for years. Plasma cutters, same thing. Except plasma cutter will cut through metal like it's
Right,
liquid
exactly.
butter.
As a matter of fact, I know they do because I can't remember if it's on the Spring Hill Public Schools Facebook page, or it may have actually come from our career and technical ed specialist, Floyd Morris. He had posted pictures of it in action. They were cutting out Razorbacks out of metal.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, he just posted that the other day.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome. Thanks for reminding us, Tammy. That's phenomenal.
That's the Innovation Hub. Back to you. We got off on.
Yes,
We
exactly.
did.
And that's literally just a small percentage of what they do.
Yeah.
Their steam room is pretty amazing. Maker bots, the little Tinker bots.
They had
robots.
little bits. They had Legos. They had a bunch of stuff.
Arduinos,
They had
Raspberry
yeah,
Pis.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a little bit of everything. The thing that was really neat was while there. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was a lady there with her product, talking.
Yes.
Yeah, and she
Yes.
was talking to, I believe, the director. I think that was
That was she was talking to Joel, who's the director of the Launchpad.
Launchpad, and he was helping her with, I guess, some product ideas and things like that. And so that's what the Innovation Hub's about. That maybe you have an idea, or you're already selling a product and doing a business. You just need to know what to do next, or you want to take it to the next level. And that's what she was doing there. Is she had, I think it was a seasoning.
It was some kind of a little sister salsa or something. I saw it on her car.
So love to give her a shout out if I can remember what it was.
I think that's what it was. I'll tell you. You keep talking and I'll find it.
Well, the other cool part about the place is that their workshop area where they had their woodworking and their welding. It's funny when people walk into a woodworking area, if you've ever been to a real carpenter's workshop, then you'll know what a real one looks like.
Right.
And that one was a real one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not this crystal pristine television show workshop. That's not what it is. I mean, it's a workshop, which I will say it was clean. They had a dust.
Oh yeah, they had a dusted system.
And they had this massive router, that digital router.
Oh my gosh, the thing was huge.
You could lay down an entire 8 by 4 foot plywood and digital route out any sign you wanted.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing.
That was.
Their welding shop was really nice, and she had shown us 4 or 5 tables that they just welded.
Yeah.
And those were aluminum based tables. That's if you don't know, you saw me. I was trying to see if it was steel. No, those were aluminum tubing.
That is hard to weld.
Heliarc, isn't that right? In the Heliarc?
Yeah. Don't get me lying.
Dude.
Welding aluminum's a lot like welding butter. I mean, it melts very.
It's melted. Yeah, it's like nothing's happening. Oh, I just melted
it's all
through.
melted. Yeah. What? Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh. Yeah. So, but besides that, I think the big deal is the co-working space that they're about to open up. That's in my opinion going to be huge for Little Rock. It's going to be huge for the Innovation Hub, and I love that they call it the Silver Mine.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty neat.
Yes, exactly.
And that they're going to have an accelerator. And if you don't know about accelerators, those are happening all over the country and have been for a long time, mostly big cities, because they have a lot of investors. And what they do is the investors are not just investors, they're mentors. And so a lot of these have so many people apply for the accelerator, they have to have a competition. So you apply for it, you come in, you do your elevator pitch, then you come in and you do your big pitch, and then they'll choose as many companies as they can afford to choose. There still might just be one winner.
Right.
But what's nice is for about a year's time, 15, 25, just depending on how many they choose, those businesses, those startups, those entrepreneurs will have this vast array of resources at their disposal, which could be all of the investors. And so, who better to tell you how to run a business than people that have the money to invest back into businesses.
Right.
And so you have all these resources of, the co-working site itself, the accelerator itself, and then they partner you with a mentor. You've got all these mentors to work off of. And so that's really smart in any size.
Yeah.
To start building local businesses. A local business is not just a shoe store or a hardware store or a bakery or a coffee shop or a restaurant. Those are all vitally important, but those places need accountants, and those places need graphics, and those places need textile production. And so I think when we start to get back to that in this country, I think that's it. Maybe we've forgotten how to do small business. Maybe in all this tech push and all this, you got to go to college, we've forgotten that somebody's got to flip the patties and somebody's got to make the table. And why not walk down the street and I can have tablecloths made right here in this textile factory that's in my town that employs 15 people, instead of ordering them from across the world.
Right.
Or even better, I help them get so powerful that they're then selling online and sending around the world.
And part of that is just discovery. Like here in Hope, we've got a plastic factory. Pyramid Plastic. I mean, you would not think that Hope, Arkansas would have a plastics manufacturing facility.
And they're a hardcore plastic manufacturing facility right here in Hope. They can pretty much do anything that you want.
Yeah.
They can retool pretty quickly and prep it. And I think that's where the Innovation Hub idea,
just getting people together.
It doesn't have to be a 20,000 square foot building
with
9 full-time staff. It could be a meeting building here. It could be a metal building with a concrete floor and just the work area that you need to get together with people and figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, whenever you look at pictures of other maker spaces that are around the country, a lot of them are, not to be insulting, but almost as a compliment, they're primitive. They're just very functional. It's like, okay, here's all this amazing stuff and all these amazing people, but the building that it's in is just there to keep it dry and lit. And,
exactly.
Electricity,
Secure,
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that this Innovation Hub does too, also prototyping.
Yeah.
And see, there's the interesting part is everyone in their life has thought of something that they would like to make. And you might not have the know-how to make it, and you might not know where to go and even get that idea.
Right.
The Innovation Hub has engineers on staff and people there to help you take that idea and make a reality out of it. And it's funny to think that I love the George Foreman grill commercial where he talks about the one on TV where you send them your ideas and they'll help you take an invention and make it.
Oh, yeah.
And then it says 98% of these inventions never happen.
Right, exactly. And then the 2% that do, well, we own like 60% of that. We make 90% of the profit. So,
but that's not what's happening up there.
No.
And I think that's an interesting part of what's happening in an Innovation Hub co-working center is that you come in with a prototype and you get it built, and the people there are just as excited as you are, and they go, hey, you need to go right back here to the Silver Mine Co-working Center, and you need to work with these people on marketing this. And then walk over here to our graphics side and let them get your graphics built for you so you can put it out on Twitter and Facebook and the whole bit.
Right.
I really think that's to me is the essence of America and just the human spirit of evolving. Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yes.
Well, and and you mentioned if you walked in with a prototype, even if you don't have that, if you just have a mental picture of what you think you might want to make,
right?
The very cool thing about Innovation Hubs is they can take that, they can help you take that from that very beginning. Okay, let's get the idea out of your head, and if you need it on a napkin first, okay, let's do a napkin.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's take the napkin and translate that onto the computer. Okay, now we're gonna if it's a 3D thing, let's just say, okay, now let's make it 3D, and now let's print out this prototype. And oh wait, that's not quite what I wanted. Let's tweak this. And
iterate.
Yes, exactly. And then, like you said, Jeff, you take all those next steps. Marketing and graphics, and how do I get this online? And in fact, I tried to find the salsa stuff online. I know it was called Sista's Salsa. There were other words around it. Frankly, I just can't picture them in my brain right now. I can't find them online. So it could very well be that was part of the reason why she was there.
Right.
We saw the little magnet on the side of her car. It had a phone number and something Sista's Salsa, and that was it. So she may be saying, hey, how do I take this further? What's my next step?
Where do I go to get this out there?
Yeah, it's very cool. It was awesome. Had a great time.
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you, I hate to wrap this Love Fest up for the
No, you
Innovation
don't.
Hub. But we're getting close into that time again.
Ba-ba.
Hey, listen, next week, we're getting so close to Christmas.
Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. We're pretty excited about Christmas around here because we get off. We don't have to work.
Well,
Yay.
after everybody else leaves, we have a few hours to
Yeah.
days to doing our own. Oh, well, okay, a couple of weeks. Okay, we'll
That's
probably
true.
not work. We'll probably not get a whole lot of time off. But anyway,
Mute his mic.
So, yeah, I'm the boss. I get to make those decisions. Go home.
fine.
So listen, next week on the show, we'll be playing some of the best of, and it will be
Yeah.
a lot of mostly interviews from the AESA conference that we were in New
What happened?
Orleans 2 weeks ago. Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And some other stuff from the Hour of Code down in Spring Hill, back to the shows that we've done, the 25 shows that we've done up to this point. I think it's been a really fun run, and but the next time we will be live with you guys will be in 2016. Will be the new year.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
I guess
That's
so.
going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I guess whatever that January 6th or whatever that Wednesday is, I don't know off the top of my head. And really, it's almost time for our break, so we don't really care. We'll be back that Wednesday.
Hey, listen, we want to thank you for listening, and we hope you have a very happy holiday.
Yes.
And you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm Greg Moore.
And I'm David Henderson. I want to thank Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools for letting us do this, and also thanks to CDWG for helping us out with some of the equipment. We hope you all have a happy holiday season.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.